not the long right thyroid. So we're gonna start in transverse, like you said, on the right side. So you can see her thyroid in this image, yeah? Okay, so that's gonna be a landmark for you. Whenever, again, I'm gonna come kind of off to the side, because what we're trying to do, like he was saying, is prove there's no plaque in there. So I wanna try and get those echoes out best I can. Too small. All right, so carotid, common carotid. I know y'all haven't really learned the anatomy just yet, but just follow along with me. I'm angling down towards her
inferiorly to her collarbone.
Clavicle, right?
Okay, so you'll get this later on, but brachiocephalic is as proximal as you can get coming off that vessel.
See that, guys?
Okay, so see where it goes and dumps
See
down
it
into
take off?
it?
That's a takeoff right there.
All right, so, so that's going to be proximal there, because that's as prox as you can see. You're not going to be able to see that proximal on a lot of real world patients, but
No.
yeah, no, that's rare. But then you can say, I have fully evaluated every length of that vessel if you can see it. So nice and round, can see the walls, no echoes, that's going to be a proximal. Keep moving superiorly up her neck. Route mid-thyroid is where you're going to be mid-carotid. I need to angle around now so I can get that wall. Over here, could I see it?
No.
I don't want that picture. I want that picture. Okay? So that's going to be the mid. Keep going superiorly up her neck. And when you hit this, see how it got bigger? That's the bulb. That's where it's going to bifurcate into the ICA and the ECA. But just before that is my distal. Once again, moving around on her neck so I can see every bit of those walls. And you can see the reflection here. That's part of the wall too. I'm going to turn my gain up just so you can kind of see that wall.
Kind of think of it like when you were doing your distal aorta. You went down till you could see the bifurcation, and then you just went back up just a little bit superior. That was your distal. Think of that like you're doing this.
Okay.
So you're going into before the bulb and then moving backwards. Okay.
So now we're going to go just a bit more superiorly, and where it's oblong, widened that way, that's the bulb. And then you're going to put color on the bulb. And I'm going to adjust my box real quick. And I'll talk about that box here in a minute. All right, you see how we're getting both colors in there? That's bidirectional flow. It's splitting into two different vessels. There's going to be, what is it, laminar flow? I can't remember the term for it. But this is typical to see in the bulb. You guys will understand that later. You want to see this swirling effect, okay? And then go a bit further, and then you'll be in the bifurcation. You see here? That's ICA and ECA.
Hers are about equal.
They're very equal. Now, don't rely on this, but the ECA is typically a more narrow diameter. But if there's pathology, it won't be. So don't rely on that necessarily, okay? All right, so now we've come all the way through. That's the end of our transverse imaging. We're going to come back down into the proximal. For her, lucky for me, I can see as proximal as you can get. And then we're going to turn longitudinal on it and get our long images, okay? And once again, what I want to do is clear out those echoes, but here's the difference. Clearing out the echoes and then losing my wall, that's too much. I still want to see what's around it, okay?
Use a lot of TGC probably on carotids.
A lot of TGC on vascular in general, yes. So now I'm going to adjust it to where now I don't have echoes and I can see the wall. Everybody understand?
And you guys see the real thin line? That's the intima layer. So you got three layers: the intima, which is the inside; the media, which M for muscle, right? Muscularis, and then you have ventitia, which is the outside, taking advantage and doing crap for the carotid, right? It's just outside. But that's what you're paying attention to, right?
Okay. So here, what I did for my color is this box right here is very important, and the angle is very important. So what I want y'all to notice here is that I angled my vessel. You know how we wanted you to get it perpendicular so that you can measure the wall for the aorta? We're not measuring the wall here. So in order to get a good color fill, I need an angle. The angle that I have is the easier to achieve based off where we're scanning. Don't try to force it to go the other way, okay? The box, I have it angled as well. Do you see how this comes to a more dramatic point than this edge here? Okay, that's what I mean when I say point your box towards that vessel. That is pointed the direction that vessel is going. So if I did this, is that correct?
No.
Why?
It's going
It's not
opposite.
It's
pointing.
going the opposite way. I'm not going to get the best representation of the flow, the direction, the velocity of that vessel if I don't have it lined up with the angle that my vessel is going. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Another thing, let's talk about the gain and stuff. I know y'all haven't really been into that too much, but we have.
We will start
Somewhat
grading
touched
on
on
it.
it.
Yeah, we'll start
So-
grading on it this time.
I jacked my scale up to 116. What's the problem here?
It's not filling the vessel.
Cool. So I dropped my scale.
Or
Or
what do we tell you about
If the
turning up your
velocity's
color
high.
gain till you see speckling and then back it off? That's the only way you're gonna know that you have your color gain set correctly.
So you got
So,
a lot of mosaic going on.
I
there.
turned it up so I could fill, and I started speckling. I turned it down, the speckle goes away, I'm still not filling. So that tells me I need to bring my scale back down. Now I brought my scale back down. Well, now I'm filling, but I'm speckling and I'm overfilling the vessel. So now I'm going to turn my gain back down. And I'm going to make sure I have a good angle on that vessel.
And look how pretty it is.
And now look.
So
now I'm
guys,
filling.
Yeah, you got to remember
Wall
this is
to
like
wall, see?
yeah.
Wall to wall.
Mhm.
I'm filling the whole vessel.
Like a
Probably bring
fine
that scale
lipstick.
down even one more because the velocity in hers isn't that high.
Mhm.
The higher the velocity, the higher your scale's going to
Go back though a little bit. See that aliasing right there?
Mhm.
See how it's not solid red? It looks like mottled, kind of like a sunset sky. You don't want that. You want solid. Okay? That tells me that's a solid, consistent velocity happening in that vessel. Okay? Now, when we do pulse wave, I expect your color image to be just as good in your pulse wave image. And now we're
We
talking
do.
about angle again. So, we haven't gone over the magic angle, have we?
Yeah,
Under
it
60,
is. Yeah.
60, under
It has to
60.
be parallel.
60 or less. We want to set it at 60 and try to keep everything at 60 as much as we can for consistency's sake. You can steer that without changing the angle. Do you see?
Mhm.
Do you see how it's changing as I change my steer?
Mhm.
So what I'm aiming for is 60 degrees, perfectly perpendicular with the walls of that vessel. So a lot of students use this trick. Come up here. See how I'm right on top of that wall, nice and even? And bring it down to the center of that vessel. Oop, my buttons. Okay.
I get on to him about setting it right on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Should be okay.
So starting this semester, we really haven't messed with y'all about adjusting your scale, your pulse wave color, or your pulse wave gain and things like that. That changes this semester. You will be expected to recognize it. See how she adjusted her waveform to fit within that scale. Okay?
Mhm.
And then her baseline's not too far down because if there's aliasing, we want to be able to see it. Okay?
Right here.
So above the baseline is going towards the
Organ.
transducer.
Transducer.
Okay? If it's below the baseline, it's going away from the transducer. Okay?
And seeing as how we're imaging her carotids, we want it going towards my transducer.
Because it's going towards her.
Brain. Right? So when I adjusted that, like Lisa was saying, you want to see enough here so I don't see any aliasing or any bidirectional flow. And then this is the peak systolic velocity, okay? If that number is higher than where I have my scale at or set right at it, you need to raise your scale, okay? If that line is sitting right here, I don't know that that's the very peak of that waveform. So you need to make sure you've got enough space. Now, if that said 160, that's way too much, okay? Second thing I'm looking for, what does this tell me? I've told y'all this before. That window, that spectral window, means I am perfectly centered in that vessel, okay? I'm getting the best signal that I can because this is nice and clear. This is what the waveform is representing in that vessel at that time, okay? It's the most accurate velocity measurement you can get, and that's what you want. I put it closer to that wall, this becomes a bit more distorted. It's not as accurate, okay?
She's going to show you how to put it in the package. You'll need to use the package because part of your grading process is when you're taking these velocities, you're going to have a worksheet report at the end of all the velocities the doctor needs.